I always say better late than never, folks. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the Inside Blitz, week number 13. And here we are. Happy Thanksgiving week to everybody. And to you, Ron, and to you, Chris, wherever you may be. And maybe he will be able to join us. He's got some busy tasks to take care of.
Hi there.
Yes.
Just talk football for an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes. We didn't quite get to the Sunday night or the Monday night game or the Vegas Charger game. So we
Right.
got 3 games on the table.
Oh, okay.
We could discuss a little bit about that. Just wanted to bring that up for any of the viewers so that
Beautiful.
we're not going to leave those games out, but we'll do, Ted's running the show. So we'll do what we got here.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you start with the games you didn't do so we can get those out of the way, and then we'll move on from there. Which ones do you prefer first?
Well, it's the bottom of the barrel, the Sunday night, the Monday night, and then the Vegas and the Charger game we didn't do.
Okay.
So Chip Kelly was fired.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that too, but go ahead.
Okay. And as I said with Chris, I may or may not have had something to do with it, but I'm not telling.
You may have something to do with his firing?
Yep.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you had that much damn power.
I have clout. What can I tell you? Since I've been saying it for about 10 weeks, and I tweeted it out right after the game.
So, by the way, does that mean that Chip will not come on this show because of you?
I think he has 6 million reasons to do whatever he wants. So.
At least. That's just from this contract.
I know. So he's laughing. He's just not built for the NFL. The question is, how much will change with that? How much, they tried to run Ashton Jeanty. It's an offensive line problem. It's a Jeanty problem. We didn't know what we got out of college with him.
Right.
We still don't know enough about him. I'm sorry, you're just choking.
You're talking about Jeanty we don't know about.
We don't know enough about his ceiling because this is year 1 of the organization trying to rebuild the roster. It's not where it wants to be. We know everything we need to know about Geno Smith.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing else that we need to know there. There's a lot of work to be done for this team. And I don't know if they can fix it in a week against a Charger team that is 2 weeks off. And I would trust Jim Harbaugh to make all the right defensive moves with 2 weeks off. So this is not a good situation to go in. I don't think we can judge whatever the Raiders are going to be this week, but it's a train wreck. You know that it's been a train wreck.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the original strongest reasons why Pete Carroll wanted Chip Kelly in this position?
Well, it's flipped the other way around. First of all, and that's Chip Kelly wanted desperately to work with Pete Carroll because he was so enamored with his work that he wasn't going to take any NFL job necessarily, but he wanted to work with Pete Carroll and see how it would go. The problem was that Pete Carroll wanted him off his college work, not off his NFL work.
Exactly.
And it just doesn't translate. The athletes are different, bigger, stronger, faster. He tried that twice in the NFL with smaller guys, with different niche skills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it failed miserably.
Yeah. But are you surprised that, Pete knows his stuff. He's been around both college and pros. He knows what's going on, that he's got to have a stronger feel for a right fit.
This was the only way he was going to get back in the game. He desperately wanted to get back in the game. If he had it over again, at his age, he thought he could do it and stuff like that. But 2 games against an ascending Denver team that's well coached, 2 games against a Hall of Fame team and quarterback in Kansas City, and 2 games against a Hall of Fame type coach and a back-to-back top 3 drafts in the Chargers. The ceiling was 1-5 in division.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, and the bottom line is the roster is in a rebuild mode, but the problem is they've always been in a rebuild mode. It's been a long time since they didn't have to.
Yeah, and the problem is the 3 teams we mentioned are not going down. They're not falling off a cliff.
Exactly.
Sometimes, like there's a talk that Buffalo, their glory days, they may have wasted some of his years, or Joe Burrow, they're wasting all of his years or whatever. But these are, you could make a case at Denver, KC, and the Chargers are still all ascending, which makes Pete Carroll's job or any coach's job that much more difficult.
Exactly. So your thoughts on that Chargers game?
The thoughts are it's just a terrible situation for Vegas. I mean, there's only one way to look.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, a little quick story of not Pete Carroll, a story from the UCLA Chip Kelly days. This is him when he was at his introductory news conference when they were actually the Pac-12. You remember those days, right? That was
I think so. I think so.
Years
Bitter
ago.
Memories. Yeah.
So Chip and I went way back, and he didn't know it. And here's the look on his face, the exact look when I said to him from the news conference, "Hey, do you remember listening to my games when you were in high school in New Hampshire playing hockey?" And he said, "Yes." I don't remember you, of course, but he says, "Yes, I remember. It was the New Hampshire Freedoms." And he was a high school hockey and football player in Manchester, New Hampshire. And we had a fun chat about that afterwards. I couldn't find it. We ended up on the cover of the LA Times together. There was a picture of me interviewing him. Anyway,
that goes way back. I don't know what his next job will be, but
does he need one? Why doesn't he just retire and become a banker?
Oh, I know, but these coaches, they never lose that urge.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the next game that you wanted to talk about that you didn't get to?
Sunday night, Denver, Washington. This is another team, Denver, who's already proven. We talked 2 weeks ago. Kansas City, Andy Reid off a bye. And I said, well, don't forget, Sean Payton is good off a bye. And then they beat, in a slugfest, a game that could have been a toss-up was won by Denver. Two obvious playoff contenders. Now they get another week off. They basically have played one game in 3.5 weeks or something like that. So this is probably as healthy a team as there is in the NFL right now, especially in key positions, and that would be Denver. Patrick Surtain, I don't know if he's back or not back for this game because it's a short week. It's Tuesday. I haven't got to that yet. There's a massive amount of stuff going on in college and the NFL.
Probably doesn't need to be back either for this game.
Maybe not, but if they get him healthy, then this team. Survival of the fittest in the NFL. We know about all the injuries, and Denver's at the top of the food chain there, and Washington's not at the top of the food chain there. So you have divergent things. It's the home crowd. It's a standalone game. It's a Monday Night Football. I haven't got into the handicap of this game yet, but chances are I won't be involved because I trust Sean Payton's game plan against probably a C-, D+ defense. I would trust him with 2 weeks to prep.
Yeah, and being a Sunday night standalone game, I think Denver is in a great shot to really shine here and show how real they are, as opposed to Washington, who's just they're going backwards and they could be in quit mode soon.
Yeah. I mean, they've got a couple of divisional games coming up, week 15 and 17 against Philadelphia. And at the beginning of the year, or even back when the schedules were announced, everybody was abuzz about, wow, this division's going to come down to the wire. And then people forgot. I mean, unfortunately, Daniels is hurt, and that plays a big part. But, then they traded away their lead running back. They had the primetime schedule. They had a tougher schedule of opponents to begin with, much tougher than the previous year. There was tape on Daniels, who wasn't excelling like he was as a rookie. So there were so many reasons why I wish the NFL wouldn't have placed those games in week 15 and 17, because they're going to turn out exactly the way that they're going to turn out, and that it's going to be meaningful for one, meaningless for the other.
Yeah, and one last thing on this game. Do you trust the Denver offense right now? I mean, that's a lot of points on the road, no matter who you're playing.
Yeah, I would trust it because I think against Washington, you could have run-pass balance. You don't have a trap game because they've had 2 weeks. They're focused on getting their job done. They saw that Kansas City found a way to win a game they shouldn't have won against Indy. These teams that know how to win, they don't go away. So Denver has to keep putting the pedal to the metal.
Yeah. And the Monday nighter, the Giants at the Patriots, suddenly you got this game. It wouldn't have ended up on a Monday night game in a million years if you think about it. But here are the Patriots, the number 1 seed. How do you figure that?
And we talked about this a little bit on the show with Chris. The Patriots, for me, are tied 10th in terms of power rating. So because they're tied 10th in power rating, there's 9 teams that are better than them. But this is the second easiest schedule I've ever seen. The easiest schedule was one where you and I took a road trip to Vegas.
Yep.
And Trent Green was the quarterback and Dick Vermeil was the coach, at least until Saturday night when something ran across the screen and Vermeil was crying. We know that story, and Kurt Warner era began.
Yeah, you were crying a little bit too, I think, at the time.
Yeah, because I came there specifically just to bet the Rams. But story aside, that Rams schedule was still the easiest that I've ever seen in the history of my charting the NFL, which is 4 decades.
Except for New England this year.
Except for New England's the second easiest schedule I've ever seen.
Oh, you still think the Rams was easier than New England's?
Yeah, I mean, there weren't as many teams, obviously, and they played in a division that was whatever. But we'll have to see how it plays out the rest of their schedule in terms of at the end, because they will play Baltimore and Buffalo coming up. So I'd say to this point, if you stop the season now, New England probably has a case for the easiest ever schedule.
Okay, so one more thing on this game, because we don't spend a lot of time on it, but how do the Giants bounce back after the way they lost the last game? It is, I believe, the 5th time this year they have blown a 4th quarter lead, more than any other team in the entire league. And this is under the interim coach. This is not good. He probably blew a chance to even get an interview for next year.
Yeah, well, we talked about how good teams, they just find a way to win. This is the flip side. Yep. Yeah, the Giants were competitive enough. Now, if they'd won some early games, would they have made the switch to Jackson Dart? If they wouldn't, then I think it's a worse situation, because I think Russell Wilson's past his prime. But if they would have made the switch, you're probably looking at a team that's 6-5 at this point.
Exactly.
4 more wins, 5-6 at the worst. Competitive, especially in that division. Competitive. Dallas is 5-1, and so on. Washington's below them. So how do you rebound? I guess they're used to it. They've rebounded forever.
Yeah, they're used to it, but they rebound with another bad loss.
Well, they rebounded by winning versus the spread.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. Are you interested in the Giants at all in this game?
Not from a watching standpoint, but
no.
No, I mean, actually, if Jameis Winston starts, then I bet the overs. That's the rule. That's just the rule. 2-0 that way, because he could provide points for each team. He hasn't. He's really provided points for his team. New England's got a soft secondary. They prefer to, let you complete your passes and stuff like that. So, and the Giants don't have a great defense. So yeah, I would be interested from that way. I haven't handicapped the game from a standpoint of spread. I will say this. Yes. I was surprised that one of my surprises this week is that the line is only 7.5.
Okay.
I expected a line that was going to be 9.
Now, is that your number?
Yeah, mine. Well, I don't have a number on technically my number would be 8.
Okay.
But I have the Giants line's power number circled because of injuries.
Okay.
So it's not a line I'm comfortable with, but if I use them exactly the way they would be, then 7.5, and I think it'll go to 8 would be the correct line. But I'm surprised by public perception.
Yeah, it's
that
true.
The line is not 9.
Okay. I think people are just afraid to lay that amount of points. But hey, and one thing about the Giants, how much does this open up for the next head coach, saying, you know what, this is a lot better team than people give it credit for. As you said, they could be easily 6-5 right now. You might want a shot at that job.
I think this would be an interesting job. I think this would be one of the better jobs that would out there. There's plus and minus. They draft well. They actually draft, I would say, by personnel alone, they would probably be in the top 7 to 10 usually, which is pretty damn good. The problem is they don't draft enough people. They waste picks. They trade up a little too much and stuff. So that lowers their rating back down to 12, 13, 14. But in generally, they add good players. They also added a couple good players through trades and free agency. So, and they have a young quarterback that has taken hold, and you know what you get out of him. And he's an interesting player that you can build. That obviously they still have holes. They could build up their wide receiver core a little bit more, although Neighbors is a star. They could build up their offensive line as always and stuff like that. But the other intriguing factor is Jalen Daniels might be injury prone. I hope he's not, but he doesn't have the biggest and best body build. And the team is kind of average defensively. Dallas is Dallas. They're on pace to do what you love to see, 8-1. So that's what Dallas is. And Philadelphia has a lot of infighting and stuff like that. Maybe their roster is going to look different next year, although I think with Howie Roseman, they're always going to be the team to beat. But there's a path to the playoffs with the right coach. Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is. And that was a nice turnaround. You got to give credit to the GM in that respect, right? Because they built this team now to all of a sudden be very competitive.
The New England?
And no, I'm talking about the Giants.
The Giants. Yeah, they're very competitive.
Right.
Good point that you posted there, because maybe that's a half point in the line. You lose your left tackle for the Patriots. It always depends situationally on who you're facing. The Giants, I'm looking at my sheet, have 26 defensive sacks, which is slightly above average. So that could play a factor. Also could play a factor in the run game, because Campbell was used at Iowa in the run game. Right. And there was another one in the chat. Oh, Chip Kelly to Oregon. I don't see it. I think they cut ties with Chip Kelly for sure. But offensive coordinator in college would be his plum job.
I'm surprised. Besides the fact that he went with Pete, I thought his plum job was where he was at.
No, he he like Saban, like Chris Peterson, remember, of Boise and Washington. They didn't like the direction the NCAA is going with the nil and the pay for players and this and that, whatever. They were in it for the love of the game. And Chip Kelly didn't want to meet with media, and he didn't want to do all these all these other things. So obligatory, I'm going to go. He's not a great recruiter, Chip.
No, I'm talking about as an offensive coordinator, though.
Yeah.
At Ohio State,
his plum job with Ohio State. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That was perfect for him, because he's out of the headlines.
Carroll. It was all about working with Pete Carroll.
Boy, that lasted 10 minutes.
His next job will probably be offensive coordinator somewhere.
Yeah.
There's an opening in Corvallis.
Yeah, you'll take it, right?
Yeah.
Whether he fits or not, it's better than what they've had. All right, let's talk Thanksgiving. All right, the Packers and the Lions. This thing's been going on since actually before both of us, which is almost impossible. And just your thoughts on this matchup. First of all, the Packers' run game last week without Josh Jacobs. I don't know who the hell this Emmanuel Wilson is. Wasn't he like D2 or something in college?
He's going to be a capable backup to spell care. You need a guy like Emmanuel Wilson on your team, because he could catch the ball, he could run the ball. He's not going to be that dynamic. If he was dynamic, he'd be a number one running back or whatever. Right. But you always, you see it in San Francisco. It looks like McCaffrey's getting 55 carries, but they still have Brian Robinson in there for 7 carries.
Yeah.
And with Barkley, you still have the backup in there for 5-7 carries. You need a 5 to 7 carry guy. And that's what Wilson is. And he's efficient in that role.
Yeah. Well, it certainly looked great this past week. He was moving the chains. Like, he just kept getting more yards per carry. I was really impressed. That's the first time I've seen him carry the ball more than like twice. So that was...
He's pretty physical, but his yards per carry is not NFL worthy of a starter.
Okay, so what about the Packers defense against the Lions, who, they showed, and I've been talking about it for years, that Jared Goff, when he gets pressure, he gets the happy feet, and some of that has been showing lately. I don't know if it's the O-line or just the matchups they're going against.
Yeah, they're finding a couple of different holes in the Detroit offensive line. There's been 1 or 2 injuries there. Maybe they took my advice. You rush him up the middle. He's savvy enough, certainly smart enough to evade whenever possible the outside rush and stuff like that. So you still have to disguise your rushes, and you still have to have a team that's capable of rushing the quarterback. You can't turn it on if you haven't sacked anybody all year.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, I'm glad you have this graphic up because crazy race. The Lions have probably should be 6-5, to be honest.
Exactly.
No, even
No,
5-6.
and the Bears too.
The Bears should be at most 5-6.
Exactly. That's the greatest 8.
Turnovers.
That's the worst 8-3 team of all time. And remember last week we said that Denver might have been the worst, but now they're showing they're worth it. So it's crazy.
And Green Bay hasn't had bad or good.
Exactly. They're all over the place.
I mean, what they've done is play down to their competition. They lost games that they shouldn't have lost, or tied a game that they shouldn't have tied. You could say, oh, that's bad luck. If they would have played them well, they could have been 10-1.
Yeah.
No, it was not a strange play in the game. It was their play in the game that prevented them from being more.
Right. And Jordan Love probably coming off his worst game as a pro overall, as far as being productive on offense. But what did you see? How much did you actually watch him against the Vikings? He couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I kind of switched around between 3 or 4 games because they had a bunch of games that I was interested in the afternoon. I wasn't all that interested in Minnesota because you could see the writing on the wall. Minnesota and stuff like that. So I was honing in on other games. I don't think Love has put it all together, but I've said this 2 or 3 times, including earlier today. His receivers are more prone to drops than other teams' receivers. And until he gets Reed back, who is their more hands catching, better receiver there. And Kraft obviously was their sure-handed tight end. They don't go to their tight ends. Musgrave, they'll go on a 3rd and 6 to get the 7 yards. But Kraft was a completely different usage for him. So because of that, their offense is if they have Kraft and if they have Reed, then I think you're looking at the division winner. But they don't have Kraft and they don't have Reed, so you're looking at a 3-way horse race.
Exactly. And a quick thought on the Packers drafting of all of these receivers, always something that Aaron Rodgers complained about for a decade, and then they get rid of him and they start bringing everybody in. And I thought you liked most of them. Did you not know that they had some hands issues?
No, I liked most of them, not as number 1 receivers.
Right.
That's the problem. They keep drafting 3 cornerbacks that are not number 1 cornerback, or 3.
Yeah.
And the one year they draft 2 tight ends, they're both number 1 tight ends. So figure that out and stuff. But I've said this on Birdie knows this. If he, when he watches the show, Russell, Dan, they know this. Green Bay is typecast their drafts. When they hit a position, they always hit it with multiple picks.
That's
4
true.
safeties 1 year. Now, twice in the last 3 or 4 years, they've drafted 3 wide receivers. The Aaron Jones draft, they drafted 3 running backs. He was the 3rd of the 3 and the guy I liked the best because he was out of UTEP. If you have a 5.6 yards per carry career in 4 years at UTEP, you're a superstar. So,
okay, and here's my stat of the week for that game. Thanksgiving game, typical. Detroit's played at home and forever on Turkey Day. Jordan Love is 2-0 on Thanksgiving in his career, 71.7% passing, 542 yards, 5 TDs, no picks, and 127 passer rating. So he likes Turkey Day a lot. Now, can he do it on the road here when there's a lot of pressure and whatever for the top spot in this division? There's your question mark.
Yeah, both teams have some flaws, obviously. We talked about Green Bay's offense. Detroit's defense, they're not lining up always in the right position. Thank goodness they used Gibbs last week in a sweet spot against the New York Giants, but they were still all out to score enough points to win. They needed a 58-yard field goal just to force overtime in that particular game. So, and Detroit needs this game because they lost to Green Bay already. Now, from tiebreaker standpoint, it's not going to play a part because Green Bay has a tie. Okay. So unless Detroit suddenly has a tie, which I don't see with Dan Campbell at the helm, that they're ever going to. I mean, if necessary, at 4th and 10 from their own 6, they'll go for it. So there won't be a tie.
No, that's only Brandon Staley. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's another one. But it's still you don't want to fall back here and give life to Green Bay based on strength of schedule coming up the rest of the year. It's just a really important game. Maybe they get 3 teams in the division to go to the playoffs, but Seattle and the Rams are both going. Somebody's going from the other divisions. So, San Francisco, you got to contend with San Francisco. So one of San Francisco, Chicago, Green Bay, or Detroit will not make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's very strange. So thoughts on the spread in this Lions-Packers game?
No thoughts on the spread at the present time, but I do think it'll be a shootout.
Okay. All right. Kansas City, will the real Chiefs please stand up? Boy, they were fortunate to get a W last week, and now they go to Dallas, another Thanksgiving hot spot forever. Which Cowboys team is going to show up? Will the Chiefs be able to slow down the Cowboys offense, which is really looking good right now?
Yeah, the Cowboys, well, if CD Lamb would stop dropping the ball, it would look a little bit better. Yeah. We knew against Philly that the run game would have start and stops. I think Dallas is underappreciated for the fact that they get mileage out of their run game, and that could help in this spot against Kansas City. Kansas City stole a win against Indy. They shouldn't have won that game. It's funny because Buffalo's certainly not as good a team as they were last year. Baltimore's got Lamar Jackson injuries, and defense is not even close to last year. And Kansas City has some problems on the back end of their defense and some injuries at running back and so on. Yet if any or all of these 3 teams get in the playoffs, they're going to be the favorites because they've earned that, that right that they've been in there. So you want to kick them while they're down. Kansas City was not kicked last week. They rose up, and somehow you kind of get the feeling they're going to find a way to win again in this very entertaining game.
No, it's a really interesting matchup. Is 3.5 where you would put it?
Line mostly I think the line was 3, which is exactly where I set it.
So does this give you value on Dallas enough to say I'm leaning that way?
I said at 3, the line's at 3. There's no value for me. It has to. So there's no power rating value situation. I have 3 handicapping methods: the power rating, the situational ones, off rest, off bye, general NFL situations based on recent team. There's a lot of good situations out there. And then the matchup analysis as well. Who's going to win the line of scrimmage? Who's going to sack people more? Can they exercise run-pass balance? Who's got the best pass deep? What about the kicking game? So from 2 of the 3, there's no edge. There's a situation favoring each team, which washes each other out. And there's no value in the spread. So now I have to do the matchup analysis, which I haven't done on a Tuesday.
Yeah, and thanks, Hector, for this little note here, because now we're really going to be staring at the schedule the rest of the way, right?
Yeah, and that point is so important because I think the NFL the NFL let the Chiefs back in last week. I guess the Colts let them back in. And they may regret it by the end of the year because their power rating is still in my top 3 or 4.
Okay, and Cincinnati and Baltimore. Joe Burrow is back, but he hasn't played for so long. Is that a good thing? I mean, you know what I mean? This is a training camp for him.
Well, he's the only one who could tell you whether he's 80%, 90%, 100% and stuff like that. And he's going against a Baltimore team that hasn't been getting to opposing quarterbacks. So this is the interesting battle here. Cincinnati's offensive line against it's not a great Baltimore defensive line. I'm going to go look at my numbers here. Baltimore, ever since they added, can't remember who they added on defense. Was it Phillips? I don't know. I can't remember who they had, but they have 6 sacks in the last 2 games.
Right.
So they had 12 in the first 9 or so, and they have 6 in the last 2. So that's the interesting area for Baltimore being able to sack Cincinnati. For Cincinnati being able to sack Lamar Jackson, it's not going to happen. They're 31st in sacks, somewhere around that area, and Hendrickson's not playing, and he's their, he has 50% of their sacks the last 2 years, 23 and 24.
My thought about Cincy is that if they had just a decent defense, and Joe Burrow was decently ready, they would literally have a shot to win out from here and maybe squeeze into the playoffs. But they don't have a decent defense. So
yeah. They let a couple of games get by. They could have won a couple of these games that they just missed. And that was their thinking, that they could go ahead and get into the spots where they could take care of business at the end of the year. But Hendrickson injury is such a big injury. They lost Chase.
Yeah.
Let's see, for last week, and
he's back. He'll be back.
Yeah, he'll be back. But what a sweet spot to have Chase against a New England pass defense. That's their weak link, and they didn't have him.
Absolutely.
So that hurt them as well. The line is probably a little bit of an overreaction to Joe Burrow coming back, because I don't think it should be near this low. But on the other hand, Cincinnati has covered a lot at Baltimore. So you have conflicting situations.
Right. Interesting matchups, though, all for Thanksgiving, right? It makes for some pretty good TV football stuff for us.
Yeah, if you look at the over-unders for the games, 49 to 52 plus points or whatever, the NFL is going to get what it wants, entertaining games with a lot of scores. That's what they want on Turkey. And they don't want the casual fan eating their Thanksgiving meal and stuff like that to watch a 6-3 at halftime game. And chances are these games aren't going to be 6-3 at halftime. So the NFL, as compelling as I like defense and stuff like that, these particular matchups are going to favor offenses.
Right. And we'll just quickly go over the Bears and Eagles for a little leftover or dessert Thanksgiving stuff on Friday. Right now, it looks like to me that the Bears have so much confidence, and we have talked about this every single week this year under the new coach, with the new combination of him and Caleb working together. Build confidence to where you think you got a chance, and now they literally do.
That's what happens is teams, we see it in college and the NFL, teams that start unexpectedly fast figure this is just going to go on. They're going to find a way to win. And the Bears are definitely in that category. Power rating wise, I have them a lot lower than a lot of people. I mean, they're middle of the pack. So plus 16 turnovers goes a long way. I think the turnover regression has an excellent chance to stop right now against a Philly team that is not necessarily turnover prone. And at the same time, you got Cooper DeJean back there. You've got a couple others back there. You have a refined pass rush. They have Jalen Phillips, who's made a difference since he's been there. I don't know what happened, especially offensively, to blowing the lead against Dallas. That was a little bit of a surprise. But I don't think this – I have a difference, maybe with Chris, maybe with others. But I think this is not a good spot for Chicago, personally.
And you know what? I think the last thing in the world they wanted to see last week was what happened to the Eagles, and have them bounce back and say, hey, if we don't show ourselves this week, we're in trouble.
Yeah, so Philly we know is going to win the division, or at least we think they're going to win the division. Dallas is 5-5-1, and they're still Dallas. But the issue is, they've got tiebreakers now against the Rams, Seattle, whoever it's going to be, that are going to come into play.
Yeah, and
we'll see what happens there. Everybody wants. I mean, Philly would much rather have somebody come into their cold stadium in January than them having to go to a dome stadium in January.
Exactly. All right, let's go to Sunday's games, and I'm coming up. My interviews with the Rams, Sean McVay, Davante Adams, Colby Parkinson, one of those tight ends that Ron always loves. Line them up, baby. They don't have Higbee now. He got hurt, but they still got two tight ends they can use. They were throwing in three at a time. Sean McVay's all over the place with that.
Yeah, he has Ferguson too. He has four on the roster now. Three are eligible. And Higbee's probably on his way out anyway, because he was banged up last year. He didn't separate himself as an elite player over his career, but a reliable player. And now they have three others.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, Higbee's the one with I think the most chemistry with Stafford, though. That he has the most
but
confidence.
Parkinson's better at stretching the field.
Okay.
And they've used Ferguson to stretch the field too, and he's a rookie. So I think the future is bright for how McVay likes to use these tight ends. And, Davante Adams is a touchdown machine. So when you have a 1-2 punch of Puka and him and Stafford feeling so comfortable behind the pocket, I mean, everything's working, clicking for the Rams, who I think validated my support of being the number one team last week.
Well, so here they were just dominating Tampa Bay. Yes, Baker Mayfield got hurt in the first half, but they looked like they had no chance in this game. It looked like a total mismatch. A lot of credit goes to the defense of the Rams. So let's get into the Rams-Carolina game. But first, wrap up that huge win over Tampa Bay. Here's a little bit of the end of what Sean McVay had to say into my question on Sunday night.
What we can control is to have a great week of preparation. You guys know me. It's the coaching cliche, but it's the truth. I think our guys have done such a great job of being totally and completely present. And I love the way we've responded from some setbacks. I love the way that we've handled a little bit of success. And, through 11 weeks, I'm proud of them. Now let's see what we can do through 12. Let's see how we handle ourselves tomorrow. Let's continue to stack it. And I'm very confident that we're going to give ourselves the best chance to do that, because I'm betting on the people in that locker room, whether it be our players or our coaches. And there's something to be said about not wanting to let those people down when you love them that much. And I think they're doing some really cool stuff right now, but it's through 11 games. We play 17 total,
this is disappointing. I don't know why it's blocking us.
Our 13th this week, or 12th. See, I can't even.
All right, I'm going to take that off. I don't know why we're having video issues. Let's see if Colby Parkinson's any better. Now, he had a touchdown pass and catch in this one, Ron, and it looked like their confidence now between Stafford and Parkinson is like at its best, right? I mean, it's like, please, where is he?
Yeah, that's why Higbee is probably expendable.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's hear from Colby.
Did a great job getting that stop early on, and then we were able to go down and score. So it just helps open up the entire offense. When you're able to get out to an early lead, it opens up the whole playbook, and you're not playing from behind, which is a great place to be.
It's easy to downplay being number one seed with so much time left, but you still got to do a lot to get there.
Yeah.
And now it's in your control. I mean, what does that feel like?
It's not nothing, that's for sure. We've done a great job responding to those two early losses, and we just take it one week at a time. We're not worried about playoffs yet. We're not worried about anything like that. So we're just trying to be.
Okay, I'm going to take it off. I do watch this stuff, but for some reason there's a compatibility issue. When I watch at the beginning, it's fine. When I play it during the show, it's jumpy. I don't know. I got to talk to StreamYard. It's your fault, guys. It's not mine. This thing works beautiful in every other way. That pisses me off. What can I say? I put a lot of work into this.
I think you got to fire somebody. That's, make somebody a scapegoat.
Who? You're the only one left.
Oh no, I'm fired. Okay.
And you have nothing to do. Yeah, get in line. Go. You're making $5 million a year, just like Chip is, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, like how about the Rams in Carolina and the bounce back factor after this game? It's a short week for the Panthers, and that they didn't look good the other night. So, what do you think?
Yeah, well, for a team like Carolina, they're not used to short weeks. So that's the first thing that's a negative. The second thing that's a negative is, or it could be a positive, who knows, what Bryce Young are we going to see? Because one week he teases us, maybe we should keep him. And the next week or last night, we say, no, there's a very low ceiling. We don't need him.
Right.
The issue for Carolina is that they're not going to get to Stafford.
Okay.
They're one of the 5 worst in terms of putting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. And if I read my numbers, I think in terms of allowing sacks, the Rams are probably in the top 3. Okay. And the Rams are more willing than most coaches to vary their game plan. And if you saw the game, I'm sure you saw the game because you were there. Yes. The Rams were extremely pass heavy at the beginning of that game. And then What is it? 23 passes in the first half, even with the lead. The old John Madden method. You pass in the first half to run in the second half.
Yeah, Stafford was 12 for his first 12 too.
Yeah. So you're looking at a team that devised an excellent game plan against Tampa. Carolina, right. I think you're going to see them run more than they pass because Carolina is going to say, oh, we can't let Stafford beat us. And then they're going to be gashed on the run because Carolina allows 5 yards per carry.
Yeah. Attempt to control the clock here for the Panthers.
Yeah, it's just not. It's unfortunately for the Panthers, not a good situation. The only thing you could say that would be in their favor is there any chance that the Rams look past Carolina, which, it could be argued that, a lot of teams would look past Carolina based on how they looked on Monday Night Football. Right. The Rams' next game is at Arizona. So it's not necessarily, it's road to road, but they're not saying, oh, we got to get ready for Arizona. That's not a trap game.
Yeah, it's the old, we got to go 3,000 miles for a game that we'd rather not play, but I think it helps. And Hector, mentioned the injuries to the Panthers starters. This puts the Rams in a better spot than it would normally be, though, with the short week.
And Hector brings up another good point, thanks, in that we get back to the draft all the time, next man up. Carolina doesn't have a next man up because they have drafted so poorly.
Exactly.
You look at guys like Leggett, what if he goes down and he's not anything special at wide receiver? You look at the offensive line, you look at all these places and you look back and say, well, why didn't they draft better? Because injuries happen in the NFL more than ever.
Exactly. And anyway, as far as the other interviews are concerned, everybody, I'm going to post them on my YouTube channel, the Touching Greatness YouTube channel, so you can watch all of them there. And I promise you, they will be nice and clean by the time they're up there. So I've got not only McVay and Davante Adams, but Colby Parkinson and Kobe Durant, who had a couple of big interceptions and one for a pick six against Tampa Bay. And Kobe Turner, the defensive end, who's a fascinating guy. We talk a little bit about Thanksgiving, so you'll enjoy that. What do you remember about Kobe Turner from the draft, Ron?
Would have to look it up. I don't remember much. Okay. Near as I could tell, he was properly drafted, and it was strength in numbers for the Rams. Remember, the Rams did an about face, and they started drafting double-digit number of people. They started to say the draft matters. What a coincidence that they're so good and the draft matters. And, Aaron Darnold, they knew that it was 0 or 1 year left for Aaron Darnold. You don't replace Aaron Darnold one-on-one. They drafted 4 guys to replace him, and that was one of them.
Yep. And Kobe Turner's out of Wake Forest, by the way, for those who don't remember. And I'm sure Ron had something on him back, and we'll check that out another time.
Yeah.
How about we'll go to the top of this thing with the 49ers and the Cleveland Browns. Yes, Shedeur Sanders is there, might be there for the long haul, considering their situation with Dylan Gabriel and what do they have to lose right now?
It's Cleveland drafted very strangely. The show isn't a draft show, but drafting 2 running backs, drafting 2 quarterbacks who aren't number 1 quarterbacks, trading your top pick for a defensive tackle. It was just a very weird draft, even though the running backs are good. Yep. And, you draft 1, you don't draft 2. And Dylan Gabriel, who I think has some NFL talent, I don't like him for Cleveland because of the weather situation. He does not have the arm strength for Cleveland weather. If they build a dome, I'll change my mind. But if they don't build a dome, I think that was a mistake. So in some ways, I'm endorsing Sanders for this team ahead of Dylan Gabriel. It's just I wish Dylan Gabriel had been drafted by a different team.
Yeah, and I wish Dylan Gabriel was like 3 inches taller too. That
could help.
But I think it's a little late now. Just like it is for me, I'm not getting any taller either. Just thoughts on that game overall. Again, you got a short week situation there for San Fran.
Yeah, I haven't handicapped this game much because I had to wait till after the Monday night game was played, got some other stuff. So I apologize. I don't have a lot of
It's all right.
information on the game. Can't tell you weather could be a factor, snow flurries, winds 10 to 20. That's not horrible for Cleveland, but the snow flurries and the uncertainty of weather, we don't know how that's going to go. Obviously, San Francisco's short week. I don't think they were taxed to the maximum on Monday. So I think it's a little bit less of a not necessarily a terrible disadvantage because they were home anyway.
Yeah.
So the question is, can they get out of business? We saw that McCaffrey he looks like he had a big game, right? He had 90, whatever number yards rushing, but yards per carry.
No, it's been nothing this year.
They're terrible this year. It's not going to get better against Cleveland.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're looking at a guy who might run 17 for 49. Yeah, and that's 3 yards a carry.
I know. Look, the bottom line is they're almost not even concerned with that, because if they were, they wouldn't be giving him the ball. All they want is the ball in his hands and create anything, and that's including from the passing end. I mean, he's getting like 70% of the touches for a while. Yeah. That's crazy.
Well, they don't and probably will never have Brandon Ayuk anymore because of the animosity.
Exactly.
The games could not even be remotely won without George Kittle on the field. What a masterful player. If he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, the Hall of Fame went brain dead, because he adds more than just catching the ball. Yep. I mean, he does so many things for that team. You're going to see a heavy dose of McCaffrey, a heavy dose of Kittle, but it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, one last thing on San Francisco. Robert Saleh is doing an unbelievable job coming back with the guys that he has out for the year. That team is it's half kids on D, and they're playing phenomenal.
Yeah, the stat sheet isn't perfect, but he's doing what he can. And you got a team without Fred Warner, and you're winning games.
And Bosa.
Yeah, and Bosa. Absolutely. Because if you look at San Francisco, they're last. 13 defensive sacks.
Yep. And yet they're in every game defensively. They're not sacking guys, but they're right there. They're playing well. They're playing solid. And remember, they also gave up Hufanga last year, and he was one of their top guys.
So, and the other guy they gave up, Drew Greenlaw, but of course he was off injury, from the injury from the Super Bowl when he ran out on the field and stuff like that. They lost some institutional memory from that roster.
Exactly. Tampa Bay, they bounce back. It's a good spot for them to go home and do what they have to do after just an awful performance. I don't know have we heard anything on Baker yet at all?
I think it's going to be a very late week, if not game time decision on Baker. You got two teams that are poorly coached here. I mean, let's not mince words. Arizona has left so many games off the table. I mean, they can't protect leads. They can't do this. They don't know how to scheme for Murray. They don't. Nothing's going right for them. And Tampa, their coaching staff is pretty average as well.
Yeah. What do you see from the Arizona pass rush that's going to cause Teddy Bridgewater anything close to what the Rams did? Because he had 0% chance to do anything on Sunday night.
I think if Arizona's wise, they will unleash the pass rush.
Exactly.
I mean, why not? Unless Irving plays, and there's a rumor that he might if he practices all week, to be able to get that running back would be tremendous for Tampa, especially since the opponents soften at this time of the year. Tampa has one of the easiest schedules down the stretch. So if they can, Baker Mayfield hasn't had run pass balance, and he's gone against teams that can sack, like the Rams, obviously. Yep. That can put a lot of pressure. Arizona's not, middle of the pack in exerting pressure. Yep. And the question is, why not exert pressure? As long as Irving doesn't play, you give up some run yards, but you do these things. Tampa Bay is still missing Evans, of course.
Yeah.
They don't have all their weapons. They have one really good wide receiver. You're going to have to take some chances because Arizona, even leads are just not safe with Arizona.
Yeah, and you can't do anything in this game until you really know who the quarterbacks are, right? But at the same time, I'm almost leaning Arizona here because I got to figure either Baker's going to play, it's his left shoulder, but he's got to be careful, or Teddy Bridgewater's going to play, and he's still the high school Teddy Bridgewater coach. He's not the same guy he was before.
If you trusted Arizona, if you get enough points, maybe you bet Arizona. I bet Arizona last week. I had all, but I had a push on Arizona. And I was happy with the push. Arizona was the right side. Trevor Lawrence threw all those interceptions and they couldn't capitalize. I'm still happy with the tie because it's Arizona. Something could go wrong in overtime and blow it and stuff. But yeah, in this particular game, Tampa has a negative situation. So normally I would look toward Arizona.
Okay. How about Sam Darnold for Seattle against the mini pass rush? And that might be MINI, mini pass rush. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they're figuring out Brian Flores. Chris and I talked about that.
Yeah.
Less worried about what happens on that side of the ball to what happens when Minnesota has the ball, because that's not going to be fun going against Seattle's defense.
Yeah. So we're looking at over 10 points in this game. Where do you think you would put this as far as the number? Is that right?
I didn't set a line on the game.
Oh, okay.
Because of Mini's quarterback situation. I think if JJ goes, I would probably make the line 9. And if he didn't go, you could use 9 to 99. I don't know what it would be, what the game plan would be with the untested quarterback. Seattle could win by 31.
Yeah. So does this sort of tempt you to just say, if you could get a solid 10, and I don't know if they're out there, but if you could just lay 10, you'll take your chances, because either way, Mini is in a bad spot.
This tempts me, Ted, as saying, oh, it's Monday. I forgot Minnesota and Seattle were playing. I'll check the box score. That's what it tempts me.
Okay. JJ not playing. He's in protocol. Yes, but isn't there still time for him to play as of?
People are erring more on the cautious side. We see it with CJ Stroud missing 3 weeks and some others. Right. In the past, they've really rushed them back. I think they rush marquee quarterbacks back in playoff situations.
No, that makes sense, of course.
So in this case, yeah, he's probably not playing, which means there's really no great set of analysis here. I think the thing you would look at, and this is not my forte, audience that's listening to this, I have a lot of fortes. This isn't one of them, but I would consider the Minnesota team total under.
Okay, that's a good one. I like it. We already talked about the Raiders Chargers. I'll be at that game for sure, and hopefully get some good sound. And highly unlikely I will be in the Raiders locker room for that one. I can't even think of a reason. I can't even say hi to Chip Kelly anymore. So that takes care of that idea. What about the Bills at Pittsburgh? This is an interesting matchup. Are the Steelers done?
Oh, no, they're not done, and they shouldn't think they're done. I mean, they're right in the race.
No, I'm not saying do they think they're done. Do you think they're done?
Yeah, it's not looking good, although you have to remember that Lamar Jackson, who they play twice, they're so familiar with Lamar Jackson, they really know how to corral him, and he's not even functioning at 100%. So I think right away, I don't care what anybody says. You just think Baltimore and Pittsburgh, they're going to split the 2 games because that rivalry is unmatched, in my opinion, in the NFL. So then it depends on what else is going on. And it's really going to take an Aaron Rodgers, back to the future, back to the blast from the past effort to get them over the hump. Buffalo's hurting, but they've had 10 days. This may be the most important game on Pittsburgh's schedule, because if they lose this and split the Baltimore, they're not going to make it.
Yeah. So can you lay 3.5 though with Buffalo at this stage? Because you don't know what team is going to show up from week to week now.
And that's a tough one, because I have a negative, unusually at this point in time, especially as an underdog, but I have so many situations that have worked for Pittsburgh over the years, because they've had 3 coaches in 900 years. So there's a lot of continuity. Cleveland, you got to make an adjustment every 3 months or something like that. So I have a situation working against Pittsburgh that I like in this thing. So I have not, again, done the matchup analysis. I've done the power ratings, which are right. 3.5 is correct. Okay. And I've done the situations, which point me to Buffalo. Now I have to do the matchup analysis, which I have not done.
All right. And then What's the other game? So we did Denver, Washington already. Just overall thoughts on the week as far as where we stand and how does this short week fit for so many teams? Because this could be a positive or a negative for wherever they are situationally in the schedule.
Yeah, I think for 5 of the 6 teams, it's not a problem. Green Bay, Detroit, even Kansas City, they're used to so many short weeks. Dallas, obviously, Detroit and Dallas host these games. It's not a factor. For Cincinnati, if they stole a win against Baltimore, that would be interesting because then Burrow would have another 10 days to get ready for the next game and stuff like that. So I don't think it's a negative for any of those teams. Chicago playing on a Friday, a little bit weird, but they're in such good spirits.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that's a factor this week.
Okay. What about the home teams on Thanksgiving? Your thoughts on that? Is that a major advantage because of the holiday, because of just history, all that stuff? Only
if they play a team they're not used to playing. Dallas, they get a lot of it is divisional rivals. You often see Philly, Dallas, Washington, Dallas. This time you're seeing Kansas City, Green Bay, Detroit's. I don't know. They play every year on Thanksgiving. It seems there are just so many. So Detroit had a series of games. I think it was 6, 7, 8 in a row where they lost at home. Right. So yeah, I think this particular Thursday schedule is just so commonplace and the opponents are so commonplace that it's not a factor.
All right. So what's for Thanksgiving dinner, Ron?
The little turkey, a little brisket, I don't know, some sort of pie, I'm sure, a 10-course meal or whatever, and a lot of heavy lifting. Did some PT. I'm going to be ready. I'm going to lift what my wife wants me to lift, and we'll go for it.
I don't think you should have to lift anything more than a 20-pound turkey, I would hope.
No, turkey is less than 20 pounds. Might have to turn it over in the oven. That's all.
All right. Sounds good. Everybody, I hope you all have a fantastic Thanksgiving, whatever you're having for dinner, and keep it safe, keep it fun, enjoy the hell of it, and more importantly, after Thanksgiving, just win, baby. Right, Ron?
That's right. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody. See you next week.
Thanks for joining us. Have fun.